Can you just give us a little, Josh, before we get into what you guys just did? Can you just give us a little background of
Yeah.
Lauren, of
So
what Lauren does?
yes. So Lauren, we met acting on a movie called Roped that's on Netflix right now, and she is an actress, and she did every kind of lifetimey movie that you could think of, and really knows that genre. And after, I don't know, her 20th movie, she was like, the formulas are kind of the same. I could probably write. And her acting career, she like went through a 6-month period where she wasn't going out. She's like, I'm gonna start writing, and pumped out like 4 scripts, and they were really weirdly good. And she went to script school of journalism or something for a year, so that was kind of her knack growing up.
Cool.
And so she's a writer now too. And so when quarantine hit, we were talking with the producer that did Roped, the production company, and he was like, we should do a Christmas movie. And we kind of, Lauren and I talked it out, and he was like, how fast could you write one? And she cranked it out in 9 days, 10 days. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
She's one of those people that, like, once she's focused, it's like game on, and she's upset with herself if she has to pee or eat because it ruins her focus.
Yes.
Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
So she cranked it out. When she gets stuck, I'd kind of like come in and I'd be like, what's the scene? And then we would basically just improv something, and
That's
a version
amazing,
of that would
dude.
go in. And yeah, we kind of found a really fun, we'd never worked together in that capacity, and on the kind of the front end, and it was fun. We both learned a lot about, I mean, she's an animal with writing, but I learned a lot about writing, and so yeah, and so she writes it, and we go into pre-production, and we're having a bunch of Zoom meetings with the other producers going, how in the heck do we, because there was one, I want to say maybe it was what's his name, John Travolta, maybe had a project going on in Georgia, but other than that, it was like one of the first SAG projects in. And
yeah, so can you tell us about, like, what time, when she was writing this, what time of year was it? Like, when was it? When? June. Okay.
May, June, and then we started filming in July.
Wow.
Right. So yeah, because I mean, nothing was back at that point, and like that second little blip in, wasn't the second peak kind of in June or like around that time, like the post Memorial Day, peak.
Yep. We were filming while the second little thing was going, and we're going every day. We were waiting for the phone call, and it got a little dicey. But
so if I may ask you, when you were, you talked about when she hit a bit of a roadblock or whatever, or was looking, needed a little assistance to get through that scene or whatever, and you guys were talking it through. Did you already know at that point that you'd be playing the 2 characters that she was like? You knew that, right? So
yeah, we were kind of shooting this with that in mind, because Roped did okay. It didn't do great, but it did, in I think Australia and New Zealand, it was top 10 and a bunch of random places. And so we were like, well, maybe if we use the same director, same team, same crew, we could maybe take it to Netflix and say, what do you guys think? It's the same team. The first one was kind of successful. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, we wrote it with that in mind. Hence why there's an old Harley motorcycle, and I was like, what's my dream movie here?
Yeah,
right. Sure.
How do I put it in the script? And
but that's such a cool like, when you're thinking about writing it, you can, like, obviously you're going to use your own brain to come up with the dialogue, but to be able to improv as yourselves, but the characters that you're writing, like that doesn't seem like something that happens to most writers as an opportunity to have. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it sounds pretty unique.
It was insanely fortunate, and we feel very blessed that we got to do it, let alone that it worked out.
Right.
And yeah, and we found out early on, we didn't really lay any guidelines or rules, but we found out early on that we can work together okay, kind of like what you were saying, where I knew this was more her project than mine. And so we'd come in, I go, man, this scene, I'm telling you, babe, it needs this. And she's like, no, it doesn't, because of this. And it could be that I had kind of an alpha mom growing up too, but I was kind of like, I get it, it's cool. And
but to have those conversations is great. I mean, because either it solidified her point of view, or maybe you added something to it.
Totally.
But like, like a good wall. I mean, you sounded like a great wall to bounce things off of.
Exactly. And yeah, and that's what happens. Sometimes she would use exactly what I say and it would be great. Or sometimes I would say this and it would just give her this idea and then she took it here, and so yeah, I mean, but well, even while we were filming, I mean, we both have that thankfully in our relationship where I can be like, hey babe, do another take. It didn't it didn't hit. I know what you want and it didn't hit. And then she'd be like, oh, got you.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.